K-pop fans said no one ever, except for literally everyone this past week.
땡땡 코코투.
Hi, welcome to my totally legit news show. My name's Angelina and I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about BTS and Big Hit's $1 million donation. We're also going to be talking about K-pop idols and K-pop fans' response to the Black Lives Matter movement. We're also going to touch on Twice being accused of manipulating charts, and of course, Bom Face. Because it's not like I haven't been sick of this shit for over 10 years now. Actually, I'm going to stop you right there to remind you to subscribe to this channel and click that bell to be notified before I get too good at this and Dispatch gets their hands on me. So we're actually going to start off with K-pop idols and their fans' response to the Black Lives Matter movement. As we all know, or we should know, there have been a lot of protests going on in the US, and actually, just a little tidbit, I'm not from America, I don't live in America, but I was driving down the road and I saw this one singular man on the one main road of my rural town protesting by himself with a sign that said Black Lives Matter. Mind you, this is not like an English-speaking town. And I'm telling you this story because it's really going to touch on some arguments that I've seen for later on in this video, but keep on watching. But again, it just goes to show you that, you could be from anywhere and, the Black Lives Matter movement is still very much relevant. But anyways, I really wanted to take a minute again to tell you guys that if you have the money, donate it. If you have the time, donate your time. If you have the privilege, use that for something good. So again, I will have some links in the description box as well as the pinned comment. And I will also link to some accounts whose voices you should be amplifying. So yeah, in light of the protests that have been going on in America, which by the way, let me get my phone. ACLU of Minnesota recently tweeted that Minneapolis City Council members have announced their intent to disband the Minneapolis Police Department and invest in community-led public safety. That is honestly such amazing news. If you're curious about what a police-free future looks like, I will again leave some resources in the comments below. No, in the description. I just wanted to share that information. But anyways, back to the story. So in light of the protests that we have seen in the US, we have also seen such a global response, and notably a lot of K-pop idols speaking out. We even had CL who wrote in an Instagram post that some of the biggest inspirations for 21 were Destiny's Child and TLC, and went on to say that artists, directors, writers, dancers, designers, producers, and stylists in the K-pop industry are all inspired by Black culture, whether they acknowledge it or not. And then she also went on to encourage K-pop fans to give back. And on that note, I did want to highlight how K-pop fans have been responding to a lot of things recently as well, because a lot of this stuff is really impressive. Finally using their fan cams and spam-like natures to do something good. We saw in the news that K-pop fans have taken down a police app. So basically the Dallas Police Department were asking people to send in videos or pictures of protesters so that they could be identified and so legal action could be taken against them. And in an act of solidarity, we started seeing K-pop fans encouraging other K-pop fans to send the app fan cams. And I thought I could highlight some of the tweets I found. So I found this one that says, guys, download the app and flood it with fan cams. Make it so hard for them to find anything besides our faves dancing. And we also have this tweet that says, time to spam the Dallas PD with the Toonie Make It Nasty fan cam. Let's go. And then of course this tweet that says, I hope y'all enjoyed Sans fan cam. And their efforts absolutely did not go unnoticed, as Dallas PD announced that the app was down due to technical difficulties, though I believe in my heart they were probably just sick of seeing fancy fan cams. But honestly, that's just hearsay. We've also seen K-pop fans take over entire hashtags, such as the White Lives Matter hashtag, so that any problematic discourse could essentially be drowned out. And I actually went to this hashtag to see for myself, and surprisingly or not surprisingly, it was just flooded with Jungkook from BTS. I also saw Seonghwa from ATEEZ here and there. And because of this, we saw an influx of praise from the locals. I mean, I even saw in Chris Clemens' story that he was saying that he loved K-pop fans. That never happens. I also saw this tweet that says, K-pop stans infiltrating the White Lives Matter hashtag and spamming the Dallas PD app until it crashed was the most unexpected effort for Black Lives Matter, but all I can say is I will never scoff at a fan cam ever again. Bless you all. And it just makes me happy because maybe you're not in a position to donate. Maybe you don't have the financial resources. And that is totally understandable. That is totally okay. But to use like the internet and to use fan cams and K-pop as such like a driving force to drown out problematic discourse, to essentially have an app taken down that is used to prosecute people, that's just honestly amazing. Which brings us to our second story, but it's kind of still in the same wavelength. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but BTS were recently under fire for not having spoken out about the Black Lives Matter movement, especially with everything going on in the US. Now, a lot of fans were really upset. A lot of fans were wondering, will they ever talk about this? Which honestly brought up a lot of very important questions when it comes to K-pop idols and the Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of people started asking, should K-pop idols really be expected to say something? Because it's important to also note that BTS were not the only ones who had been staying silent at that point. I mean, we also have my faves like ATEEZ and Blackpink, which ATEEZ have since shown their support. Now again, we have plenty of idols using their platforms to show solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. From Tiffany Young to Minzy to even Jessie and Zilo, both Korean Americans and Koreans alike. And this is important to note because when it came to the discussion of whether or not idols should be speaking out about this, a lot of arguments went on to say that, well, if they're not American, then they really shouldn't be speaking about American issues. That was a major argument among others, such as their companies are holding them back. Now, for the American argument, I did want to touch on this really quickly because, even as CL said, K-pop is heavily inspired by Black culture, whether people like to acknowledge it or not. This isn't an American issue. Black Lives Matter is very relevant globally. And if we take it back to that story that I said of that one singular guy who was protesting on the streets of a non-American town, a non-English speaking town, still protesting Black Lives Matter because it is still an issue in so many countries, not just America. So many of us benefit from Black culture without even acknowledging it. Whether it's certain styles or even the words that we use, there are so many words, that have been innovated by the Black community, so many phrases that have been innovated by the Black community. If we use African American vernacular English for an example, that is so terribly misused a lot of the time because people fail to recognize that it is not a bad English. Just a friendly reminder that African American vernacular English is in and of itself a perfectly valid, structured variety of English. And just because it doesn't fit your notion of prescriptive grammar doesn't mean a damn thing. Oh my, it seems I've gone on a sociolinguistic rant, much of which I probably cut out. Okay, so anyways, BTS received, in particular, a lot of backlash because they do have such a large platform, because they have a campaign with UNICEF that has a goal to end violence. However, since then, BTS have voiced their support and have also donated $1 million to the Black Lives Matter website. According to an article by Variety, the managing director for Black Lives Matter, Kaylee Scales, expressed, "Black people all over the world are in pain at this moment from the trauma of centuries of oppression. We are moved by the generosity of BTS and allies all over the world who stand in solidarity in the fight for Black lives." And actually, since their donation, fans have started a BTS Army project called Match the Million to essentially match the million that BTS donated. And as I'm filming right now, they have actually reached the million. So do you know what I mean? A lot of people are saying like, no, if they're not American, they shouldn't speak about this, da-da-da-da-da. But then you see that if you have such a large platform, there's so much change that you can incite. Moving on to Twice. So, Twice have recently released their album More and More, and people have been accusing them of chart manipulation, or this lovely word in Korean,
Sajaegi.
Essentially, according to NPR.org, it is unethically and or illegally boosting a chart ranking. For example, entertainment agencies bulk buying their own CDs, or probably more likely in the digital era, using bots or computer farms to repeatedly stream songs and hike up chart numbers. Now, many artists have been accused of this, notably BTS, especially in 2015, because they outsold Big Bang. And a lot of people were really hesitant to believe that BTS, coming from such a small company, could outsell Big Bang. And Big Hit's response was literally like, yeah, exactly, we are a small company. We don't have the resources to do that. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But alas, being accused of chart manipulation is a pretty big deal because it is illegal. In South Korea, though, from articles I've read, there's kind of an underground market for it. So according to reports, Twice's More and More album sold 100,000 copies within the span of 1 hour, which to a lot of people seemed a little bit fishy, but Hanto released a statement saying that there was nothing fishy going on. And fans consequently are super livid at the accusations themselves, as they claim Twice have been gone for a really long time and this comeback has been hyped up so much, and that they are fully capable of selling 100,000 copies within 1 hour. Now, when it comes to charts, it's actually a super interesting topic to get into, and I actually saw a video by GZB Karma where she expresses, how different charts calculate album sales. So if you want to learn more about that, I definitely suggest watching that video. It's in French, but if you don't speak French, there are subtitles as well. Okay, now let's talk about Bom Face. Now, I have been sick and tired of hearing this for the past 11 years. I'm sick of hearing people talk shit about her face. When it comes to bringing up how her face seems to have changed, they seem to always bring up her body at the same time. Like, oh, her face has changed. And I don't even want to say the words out loud because I'm just disgusted. So what I will say is leave her alone, and I don't think it's fair at all to be stigmatizing weight fluctuations. I don't think it's fair at all to even be bringing up people's bodies, especially in news articles. And I know their job is to report on the news, but you are the media. You are directly contributing to people, believing that a summer body exists, or that believing that someone gaining weight is like so important that you have to read a fucking article about it. I remember consuming the media as a young child, and it fucked me up for life because I believed these things. I believed the articles about celebrities gaining weight. Oh my god, it's such a big deal. It's fucking not. Gaining or losing weight is the least interesting thing that you could do in this life. Trust me, there are a lot of things that you can do that are so much more interesting. And this just kind of comes from a place where, I'm just kind of really triggered and sick of idols constantly mentioning their diets and just kind of promoting that to their audience, which is incredibly irresponsible. And there are a lot of idols who kind of go along with this way of thinking that skinny is so much better. But you have to understand that you cannot tell someone's health by their weight. And even if you could, when did health become such a driving factor on whether or not you would treat someone with respect? That's ableist. Health is an access issue, and it really pisses me off. There's so many fatphobic undertones to these articles. Like, not only has her face changed, but her body as well. Like, yeah, that's what happens to bodies. They change. If you want more of my thoughts on body shaming in K-pop, I actually have a whole ass video about it. As for me, this is the end of this video. If you made it this far, you might as well click on another one of my videos. I don't know, help that watch time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share this video with friends you don't have. Don't worry, I don't have any either. I'm gonna get going. I will see you guys next time. Bye.